when you don't know what your requirements are, everything is optional. And when everything's optional, you're making decisions, you're living life based on how you feel, but you're not making progress. Actions based on feelings don't lead to progress. It's consistency that leads to progress. And that's my second point, is that if you do the required things on a daily basis or as the steps require you to be, it might be once a week, it might be once a day, whatever it is, whatever that required step is, if you consistently do it, what's going to happen? A, you're going to feel good about yourself, knowing you're hitting the steps that's required, that you have to do to get to your goal. B, it's going to boost and build your confidence, right? And when you're confident, you exude that confident energy. You look like a person that's on a mission, and people respect that. What's up, bro? Bam. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the End-to-End Podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Yun Nguyen, talking about life, success, entrepreneurship, drive, motivation, and offering you morsels in this all-you-can-eat buffet called life. Episode 65. Excited to be in this hot studio in Houston, Texas. If you're watching this on video, we're still toying around with our new set, new equipment, trying the headphones on, new mic. So we are trying new things, and this is a great time to do it as we continue to grow and expand our show. And so as I always start my day, and I always start every episode, just want to express some gratitude to all of you out there listening, following, commenting, sharing. It's been a phenomenal growth rate. We're still going. If you're new to the show, or as you know, there are no sponsors to this show. I do this on my dime, on my time. So the only way we grow our show is if you share it. And so I spent a lot of money on this. And so the only way we can grow is for you to share it. And so if you find value in the message in today's podcast or any other episode, please do share it. And I like to say is that if you're knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. But I want to say thank you to everybody out there for commenting, liking, following, sharing, especially sharing, because we only reach our mission of inspiring billions of people around this planet if you share the show. So if you're knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. Midsummer episode. It's been hot, moving around, traveling everywhere. My boys' AAU season just wrapped up. But within that scope of him wrapping up his basketball season, and for those of you new to the show, got a 16-year-old kid, pretty good at basketball, so he's trying to do some things in that area. Super proud of his performance this summer. We had a high-level, elite-level basketball tournament in the area here, top teams across the country, across the state, and was very proud of him in his performance because mainly, and not to be a racial thing, but as I'm watching game after game after game, super high-level, elite, grassroots basketball, he was the only Asian kid in the gym. So kudos to you, Nate, for what you're doing, what you're accomplishing. Keep grinding, son. Keep shining. But as the season wraps up, and he's also doing summer classes to get ahead for next year, it reminded me of something when I grew up, and as I'm applying this to my life on a daily basis to get to where I want to go. And I'm looking at his school curriculum, and there's these things called required reading. I'm sure this is bringing up some emotion in some of you older people listening, maybe good, maybe bad, maybe anger or whatever, some anxiety. But in every class he's had, there's what's called required reading. And it reminded me, things that I do subconsciously now, that I have to consciously think about to discuss on this podcast, is that just as there's required reading for the class, there are required things in life that you must do in order to get to that next level, okay? There's a difference, huge difference, between what is required and what's optional. Okay, when I was going through school, there were things that were required on the syllabus, required reading, required assignments, required whatever, and then there were things that were optional, that you could do or you didn't have to. You can still get through the class, but you didn't have to do it. But if you did it, you got extra credit. You see, and I think subconsciously, as that happened in almost every one of my classes through high school, through college, through graduate school, become a doctor, lawyer, all that stuff. I think I subconsciously applied that into my daily life. Subconsciously thinking, understanding that there are certain things required to reach your goal. And then there's certain things that are optional above and beyond that you don't have to do. But if you do it, it makes getting to your goals a lot easier. Okay, so how do we break this down in your life, in your path to success? Okay, so there's the self-development part, and then there's the external part, talking about career and life and other things. In terms of the self-development part, I break it down to my personal holy trinity, and not to be blasphemous in any way, but I think there's a trinity that is analogous to what's discussed in religious texts. And the trinity for me is mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. When you connect all those three, you feel this confidence, you feel this love, you feel this empowerment, enlightenment that is almost a spiritual experience when all of those three things are aligned. Mind, body, and spirit, the Trinity. There are certain things required to become your best in each of these three categories. And you'll have to discover that for yourself. But I'll give an example for me, what I do. For my mind, what's required? Okay, for me, got to read, and I got to meditate, and I got to visualize. 3 things that I do daily. Read, meditate, visualize. Okay? Spiritually, okay, mind, body, and spirit. Well, let's go with body. Required on a daily basis for me. Okay? Hydration. Got to get a lift in or work out or increase my heart rate for at least 45 minutes. Okay? And better than average nutrition. Okay, when I'm not doing 75 hard or something like that, I may slip here or there, but better than average nutrition. Be conscious about what I'm putting in my body. Let's put it that way. Like even if I'm off, being naughty on my diet, I'm still conscious about what I'm putting in. Okay, so for body, required for me, it might be different for you, is hydration, exercise, consciousness about what I'm putting in my body. Okay, and then spiritually, kind of tied with mentally, daily prayer, meditation, and gratitude, expression of gratitude. Okay? Those are required for me, for self-development, for me, for my own personal well-being. I have to do those 9 steps that are required. That allows me to feel, to understand myself to its optimal level so that I can be the best I can be for those people around me. You see how that works? It's required. Now, there are other optional things I can do around those 3 areas, but those elements are what's required. Okay? Now, as it relates externally, everybody has these goals. For me, it's my law firm. It's helping clients change their lives. It's the crypto project. It's my health tech project. All these things. Each one of those things has requirements that I must hit in order to provide the best either service or product I can to those people around me, to the customers I serve or the users, to my clients. Okay? In my law firm, right? What's required? I have to understand the case, the facts of the case, have to break it down into the steps. I have to help get my client's treatment. Have to understand the strategy of the case, have to delegate activities or tasks to my team. These are all requirements on a daily basis. Got to hit them. Okay? For example, with my crypto, back when we were launching, there were certain things that were required to launch. Had to get the code audited. Had to get my Know Your Customer audit, which was, getting interviewed by, people in Italy at 2 a.m. to make sure I'm the one that was the owner of the project. Having to meet with my development team routinely. Just things that are required. Cannot miss. Cannot miss. That's by inherently the definition of required. For my son, he wants to play high-level basketball. So this morning had a conversation. What is required? His trinity was mental, physical, and basketball IQ for his basketball. And we broke it down. What's required on a mental basis? Okay, reading, confidence, aggressiveness, taking risks. Physically, okay, lifting every day, training hoops, stretching, nutrition. IQ, watch film, break it down, learn moves, learn counter moves. That's all required. And if you miss any of these steps, then you're not doing what's required. So how can there be any expectation to reach your goal if you're not doing what's required? So as it applies to your life, okay, are you doing what is required to hit your goal? Are you doing what is required for growth in your life? Are you doing what is required to be the best you can be for the people around you? Because there is no other option. It is required. If you miss it, if you miss a task, if you miss a line item, you're not doing what's required. And you got to be truthful and brutally honest with yourself and say, well, I didn't do what was required. Because when you are able to be self-aware enough and take complete responsibility of your life and understand that there are certain things that are required if you want to get to where you want to go, then you'll understand you'll do it no matter what. You'll do it no matter what. There is no option. There's no second option. You do what's required. Because here's the thing, if you don't break it down enough to know what is required of you, then clearly you haven't broken down your goals, or you don't want your goals bad enough. Because every goal, every step, I want to be a millionaire, I want to buy a mansion, I want to buy a supercar, I want to provide for my family, I want to go on a world vacation. There are required steps in order to get to that goal. And if you have not identified those required steps, you don't want that goal bad enough. You just don't. Because you have to break it down into those steps and meet those requirements to get there. Two things about that. If you don't know what's required, then everything is optional. And what happens when things are optional? If you have a choice, let's say for my mental, I got to read 10 pages a day, kind of 75 hard deal. 10 pages of nonfiction self-development. I got to read 10 pages a day. If it's not a requirement, it becomes optional. And if it's optional, what does that mean? That means I can do it, or I don't have to do it. Human nature will push us towards the not to do it. Human nature will push you to not do things if it's optional. Right? Because, while I take joy in reading, it takes time. It takes effort. There's an opportunity cost of something else I could be doing more fun, so to speak. Right? And that's going to be human nature. When you are left with the choice of, you don't have to do it, but if you do it, it'll be great. If you don't do it, nothing really matters. It's not going to change, not going to be a big deal. You're probably not going to do it. So when you don't know what your requirements are, everything is optional. And when everything's optional, you're making decisions, you're living life based on how you feel. But you're not making progress. Actions based on feelings don't lead to progress. It's consistency that leads to progress. And that's my second point, is that if you do the required things on a daily basis, or as the steps require you to be, it might be once a week, it might be once a day, it might be twice a day, it might be once every hour. Whatever it is, whatever that required step is, if you consistently do it, what's going to happen? You're going to feel good about yourself, knowing you're hitting the steps that's required, that you have to do to get to your goal. B, it's going to boost and build your confidence. Right? And when you're confident, you exude that confident energy. You look like a person that's on a mission. And people respect that. Certain people fear it, but the right people, I should say, respect somebody that appears and looks confident, takes deliberate action. Right? And that's going to even boost your confidence. It's like self-fulfilling. It's a positive feedback. You feel confident. People treat you with more respect. You get more confident. People treat you with respect. You get more confident. And so it builds, right? And then when you're confident, you have essentially these blinders on where you can't be knocked off your path by inconsequential things, right? Other people's opinions, the fear of failure, just external factors that normally would push a weaker person off their path. When you do these required items for your life, you can't be fazed. You cannot be fazed. You take emotion out of it. I'm doing what's required to get to my goal. Matter of fact, think what you want, say what you want, do what you want. I'm on my path. That, my friends, is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. One of the biggest fears most people have is other people's opinions. Unfortunately. I got past that a long time ago. But my point is when you do these required things consistently, other people's opinions aren't going to matter as much anymore. Ultimately, you want to get to where they don't matter at all, because you know what the steps are. You know you're putting in the work. You don't care what other people think, right? They can say what the hell ever they want, but when you're driving that Lambo, McLaren, whatever, let them look on, right? So that's what it takes to be required. So you want to do these required steps and remove them, or remove your life from a life of what I call optionality. I've got options. I can do it. I can don't do it. I don't care. Whatever. Float around. That's not going to lead you to that success. The winner circle. It will not lead you there. What will lead you to the winner circle is doing the steps that are required on a consistent basis to get to your goals. And it's very simple as that. It's as simple as that. So, if you've reached your goals so far this year, reflect on back. You likely, or I guarantee you, that you did everything that was required of you to get to your goals now. If you didn't reach your goals so far this year, we're midsummer, think back. Think back of what was required of you to hit those goals, and what didn't you do that was required, and use that to make it a successful second half of the year. If you still have those goals in mind, okay, now you understand these steps were required and I didn't do these steps. Now looking forward, do the steps. It's very simple. There's no crystal ball, no magic wand, no pixie dust that's going to make it happen. It is simple as doing what is required on a consistent basis. It is that simple. Literally that simple. Now, why does it happen more often than not? Because A, people don't know what's required, or they don't break it down enough, or they don't ask people what, hey, I want to get to here. What clear example. Somebody that has reached the amount of success that you want to go to. Just ask them. Ask me. Hey, I want to go here. What do you think is required to get there? Like specifically, right? What specific things can I do to get to there? Then you'll get your list. Anybody that's had any level of success loves to help people behind them. Hey, look, man, you gotta, for my son, for example, he'll ask coaches, pro basketball players, what's required? Hey, man, you got to make 250 shots a day, at least. You got to lift iron at least 30 minutes a day, work on upper body, lower body, whatever. And then, so now he's got his list of examples, people who have done it. What's required? Check, check, check every day. Every day, just do it. So that's why people don't hit it. That's why people aren't as many people aren't as successful as you would think. Because A, they don't know what the requirements are. And then B, if they do know what they are, mentally, they don't have the discipline, so they make them, instead of requirements, optional. Optional means not consistent. Optional means, we talked about that, means, going on emotions, how you feel. I want to do it, don't feel like doing it, whatever. And then C, because you don't have that discipline, you're not consistent, right? It's like, again, using my son as an example, if you want to get stronger, you have to lift every day. You can't lift one day and then take 4 days off and then lift again, because what happens is your muscle will build. You break down your muscle as you lift. It'll build, but then there's no follow-up. So what happens? Your muscle atrophies again. So you're either constantly staying at the same place if you're not consistent, or you're actually declining. Because you've broken down your muscles, they rebuild, nothing happens, and so they may atrophy more, lower than when the first day you lifted. So you go every single day with appropriate rest and nutrition, of course. And you go every single day, and then it builds over time. Right? The other reason people are inconsistent is they're impatient. Hey, man, I lifted today. I should look like, Muscle and Fitness magazine. No. It's consistent progress over an extended period of time that makes you look like Muscle and Fitness magazine over the course of months, if not years. You can't expect to lift for a week and then be on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. It doesn't work that way. So they lose patience with it. They don't see the immediate results, which is very hard in today's world with social media, but they don't see the immediate results. So what happens? They quit. They fall off the wagon. They fall off the program. So it's very, very simple as that. The analogy in my mind to remind me, required reading and do what's optional. Now, I spoke about optionality in a negative sense, like, hey, it's based on your feelings, you want to do it or not. But there are other options that are above what's required. So there's options that are below and there's options that are above. And these options that are above, if you do them, you do that above and beyond. That's why that expression, above and beyond. You do those things, you accelerate your path to your goals of success, right? The option, you don't have to do them, but if you do them, it accelerates. And that might be, for example, you're a salesperson, okay? You understand it's what's required. Let's say your close rate is 30%, right? And let's say based on the amount of money you want to make for a particular year, you've got to call 10 people a day, okay? You understand, I call 10, I'll close 3. If I do that consistently, I'll make $500,000 this year. Call it that, right? So call 10, close 3, I'll make $500,000. Now, the optionality would be, let me make 2 extra calls a day. 2 extra calls. 2 extra calls, I call 12, maybe I close 4. You see how that works? I'm not required to call a 12, but it's optional. If I do call 12, I'll close maybe that one more. I'll close that one more, I get to $500,000 quicker. Maybe instead of 12 months, I get there in 9 months. Now I have 3 months to do whatever the hell I want, fuck around, travel, do whatever. Right? Or maybe instead of $500,000, I call 12 a day, the 2 extra options a day. I'll call 12. Now instead of $500,000, I'm at 700K. What are you going to do with an extra 200K? Shit. A lot of Ferraris you can buy for 200, Lambos, almost, maybe a down payment. But you see how that works? It's an optional thing. And so if you feel motivated, compelled, and confident, you're going to make those 2 extra calls. And maybe you do that for half the year and you're like, damn, this is so good. I'm going to make another 2 extra calls. So now you're at 14 extra calls. Now you're maybe closing 5 a day. You see how that works? So there's the minimum requirements and then there's the above and beyond options that once you hit, it just accelerates. And I tell you what, when the above and beyond options hit, you almost become addicted to it, that level of success. You're like, damn, that's a result of making 2 extra calls. Well, shit, let me make 5 extra calls. That's how it works. So breaking it back down, in your life, there's self-development, there's external things. But with all of that, in your whole realm of existence, talking about path to self-improvement and success, there are things that are absolutely required that must be done. No question. Not optional. You got to do them. Do them consistently. And then wait for the results. The process is doing these required things consistently the result will naturally show up inherently. Okay, don't make your life a life of options or optionality, because that leads to stagnancy, no growth, actually deterioration. Okay, if you have an opportunity to do the above and beyond options, lean on the side of doing them if you can. If you have the time, energy, effort, resources, do them. Do the extra optionality, and you will be very, very surprised at how fast and how accelerated your pathway to success can become. Okay? Glad to bring you an episode midsummer. Keep cool out there. Hydrate. Been great to bring you another episode of the End-to-End Podcast. As always, if your knowledge swole, share the show. That's how we grow. Thank you so much for all of the likes, follows, comments, and especially the shares. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, you want to ask me what I think is required to hit your goal, DM me or email me, ask@the2ndpodcast.com. Again, I like to close my show with gratefulness. So thank you all out there. Be great today, but be even more grateful. Looking forward to bringing you another episode of the End-to-End Podcast very, very soon.
What's up, man? What's up?